Hello, I am Victoria Seed and I am coming to you pre-recorded this week for this 10 at 11 session. Every week I go live for 10-ish minutes on my social media platforms, YouTube, LinkedIn and Facebook, and I also upload to Instagram as well. And this week's pre-recorded because tomorrow or today when you see this, I am going to be delivering training all day. So this week is National Carers Week, and I thought it was really important for me this week to focus on that particular topic. So I am going to be talking you through 5 essential tips for carers living with a loved one's drug or alcohol use. So I'm coming to you live from Manchester, and I help families who are affected by a loved one's drug or alcohol use to reduce their stress and live a better life. And I do this by teaching effective strategies to cope. And I can help you too. And professionals, if you are watching, please let your clients know about my service, because I can help, I can co-work, and I can also collaborate as well. So the first thing I want you to do is head over to vestaapproach.co.uk/freebie and download my 10 ways to family recovery. That'll come straight into your inbox, and it has my top 10 tips for family recovery. So head over and get that, and that will be in your inbox. And you will also get a weekly email from me with all my news and main hints and tips from that week. Why wouldn't you get that? So let's get started then. So the first tip that I want you to think about if you are a carer living with a loved one's drug or alcohol use is to set healthy boundaries. And I focus on this all of the time. It sounds so simple, but hardly anyone I know has clarity around their boundaries. So think about, what will you accept? What won't you accept? What do you need to consider if these boundaries are broken? Yeah. And the next step is that you need to tell your loved one about your boundaries, because if you don't tell them, they don't know. Yeah. And then that is going to cause conflict. So you've got to have that difficult conversation with them. So what I would suggest is that you write it all down, get a piece of paper, break it into 3 sections: accept, not accept, and what you can possibly compromise on, and then plan to speak to your loved one. Use I statements or I messages. They're great. You can download them on YouTube. I'll mention them later on as well. Take some responsibility for what's gone on. Focus on the I and not the you, and offer them help to be able to make the changes that you're asking them to help. So with this, don't set millions and millions of boundaries and try and implement them all at once. Just focus on between 1 to 3, whatever's the most relevant for you at the moment. So number 2, plan non-drinking or using activities with your loved one. So this might sound a bit silly, but it's not. Think about the positive reinforcement that we might use with toddlers or with dogs or pets. It's the same concept. So it isn't about buying gifts or going on expensive outings. It's about naming the fact that you like spending time with your loved one when they are sober. And that is what you are going to be reinforcing. It's about planning to watch their favourite film, or cook their favourite meal, or whatever it is, at a time, ideally when they are usually using the substance. So if on a Saturday night at 9 o'clock your loved one is absolutely wasted, that is kind of the time, or earlier than that, when you want to be planning these things in. And this absolutely works. So write down everything that your loved one really likes. Might be people, places, things, activities, films, whatever it is. And then think about which of those you might enjoy to do with them, because there's no point planning all of these things in and doing things that you absolutely wouldn't want to do, right? So then plan something in for this weekend or this evening or whatever it is, and you just say to your loved one, right, okay, how do you fancy doing this at the weekend? But remember, I love spending time with you when you're sober. So, you know, if you're sober, we can go ahead with it. If not, we'll make another plan. Please let me know if you can have a drink or use, and then I'll make plans for myself. Something like that. Easy, 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 easy. That is all you have to say. And people get so worried about this and overcomplicate it. But honestly, it isn't complicated. That is as easy as it gets. Yeah. If your loved one's not interested, fine. Go and plan those things for yourself. Show them a model that you can have a different life that doesn't involve drugs and alcohol. Okay? So, number 3, use positive communication. I know we get this rammed down our throat all of the time, but the thing is, it is so important in this situation. So shouting, screaming, crying, yelling, slamming doors, or sitting there in a huffing and puffing does absolutely nothing to change anything. It uses all your negative energy. It creates conflict between you and your loved one and probably the rest of your family. And last but not least, it can create a trigger to use the substance, because people who use drugs and alcohol will find any excuse to continue to do it. So we want to be removing those excuses as much as possible. All right, so when you want to get a point across, focus on your feelings and not your loved one's behaviour. So write down what you want to say in a nice statement, and just all it is I feel when, because, I would really like it if, yeah? So you can say it like that. There's different versions of it, but just keep it simple. So I feel sad when you are intoxicated around the children because, you know, they're worried and I'm worried and I don't want it to have an impact on them. So I would really like it if you, when you drank or when you use your substance, you did X, Y, and Z. So that could be, you know, went into another room or went out or whatever it is, yeah? And then you're gonna have to reinforce these boundaries. It never happens where you just say it once and everything's fine. Well, very rarely I have seen it happen, but you are gonna have to keep reinforcing these boundaries without aggression and anger. Okay, so number 4, become a helpful helper. So you might be thinking, okay, well, I've done everything I can to try and help my loved one, but nothing is changing at all. So let me tell you, if a person who is taking drugs and alcohol, and they never experience the consequences of that because you're removing them through trying to help, then they're just not going to change. So that's what we call enabling. And quite often, really helpful behaviours are still enabling because you're doing things for somebody else that they can do themselves, yeah? So you're doing so much that you're removing the consequences of their use. And it's always from a place of love and compassion, but it's just not going to work. You need to stop doing those enabling behaviours, yeah? The costs of the substance use have to outweigh the benefits of it. And this might sound silly if people are on here listening and they have used substances themselves. But, you know, people talk about rock bottom. That isn't something I believe in. But as family members, friends and partners, we can influence a change by taking a step out of it almost and allowing them to experience the consequences of their use. All right? So family members I work with often cover up for their client loved one, make excuses, call in sick to work, clean up after them, lie to children, minimise the loved one's behaviour, paying off dealers, lots and lots and lots of things. And it is nothing to be ashamed of, because I have seen this a lot of times before. When you're in it yourself, you feel like you are isolated and you're the only person experiencing this, but it's just not true. Okay, 1 in 10 adults are affected by somebody else's drug or alcohol use. So please remember that you're not alone, and there's help like mine, which is private and confidential. There are services like AdFarm and local services to you who can absolutely provide help and support. So the way around this, write down all the ways that you've helped your loved one. Just note it all down, the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever it is, whatever you're embarrassed about. get it out on paper, and then think about which of those have been enabling and which have been truly helpful. So the helpful behaviours, I would say, are things like supporting your loved one to get treatment and help, encouraging that. You know, you can give them a lift there, you want them to be independent, but initially, you know, do some of that work, find out about services that can help and those that you think will fit your loved one, so that when you hear that talk around, you know, I don't want to do this anymore, I want to change, I want to stop drinking, you can go in straight away with the information that you've got to help. And that, sorry, I'm getting over a cold, that is truly helpful. But what isn't helpful is removing the consequences of the use. Yeah. So write it all down, mark down which is enabling, which is helpful, and then start reducing those enabling behaviours. Now, this is something that you're probably going to need help with, so get in touch if you want to work with me one-to-one, and I will definitely help you out. Okay, so number 5 then, withdraw your company when your loved one uses their substance. So when your loved one is intoxicated, the message is, when you use that substance, I don't want to be around it. I prefer being with you when you're sober, so I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. Leave without conflict, leave without passive aggression, do something nice for yourself. You can simply say, you know, I can see you've had a drink, I prefer spending time with you sober, so I'm off. Okay, it's a simple message, you're not going to be around it, you won't have it, you know, you don't want it around anyone else in your family. Protect yourself from the drama and put yourself first. Now, this does mean, guys, and ladies, whatever you want to refer to yourselves as, that you cannot be sat drinking with them and taking drugs with them, which I know a lot of people that I've worked with have done that in the past. However, if it's becoming a problem for a loved one and then you're sitting there drinking with them, it's not going to work. You need to either take a period of sobriety yourself or arrange to go somewhere else if you're going to drink or take drugs, okay? Because that message, that boundary is too blurred. Okay, don't forget, go and get my free download at vestaapproach.co.uk /freebie. And just a little recap on those 5 things, essential tips for you. Number 1 is set healthy boundaries. 2, plan on drinking and using activities with your loved one. Number 3, use positive communication. Number 4, become a helpful helper and stop enabling. And number 5, withdraw your company when your loved one uses their substance. That's it this week. If you need help, drop me a message. I will happily help you, and if I can't help, I will point you in the direction of somebody that can. Have a good week. See you later.